to kiss, couldn't engage, to open mouth was a decision, too overbearing for the moment. The lips, an amphibian, directed by evolution to live on the face. Each kiss slicing its belly open, gutting it, exposing an internal network where the guts of a partner's amphibian are devoured. Is anybody out there? Somebody, nobody, everybody. So this is pretty much about voice, finding a voice for different texts, finding a voice. This next work, it's called Cite Recite, and I'm going to leave this camera on, but it's probably better if you just close your eyes. It's kind of like when someone makes a film of a book and they miss, and it destroys what the reader wants, the film the reader once made for themselves. So, here's a text to make a film with in your mind. Nothing seems to have ever been moved. There is something of every description which can only be a trap. Maybe it all moves proportionately, canceling out change in the estrangement of judgment. No, an other order pervades. It's happening all at once. I'm just a disturbance wrapped up in myself, a kind of ghost, vampirically passing through the forest, passing through the trees. A vague language drapes everything but the walls. What walls? The very walls that never vary. My enclosure, so glorious from a distance, stands on the brink of nothing like a four-legged table. What is it? An island with a never-ending approach? A stopgap from when to where? Something to huddle over with my elbows like trestles without tracks, the bases of which are scattered with evidence of unsolved crimes? The overallness of it all soaks through, runs through the holes in my hands, and continues to run amok, overturning rocks that should not be overturned, breaking bed that should not be broken. The sun will rise, and I won't know what to do with it. Its beak will torture me, as will its slow movement, the movement it invented that I can only reiterate. The quieter and stiller I become, the livelier everything else seems to get. The longer I wait, the more the little deaths pile up. bodily sustenance is no longer an excuse. Too much time goes by to take it by surprise. So much remains. No doubt it can all be counted, starting with any one, continuing on with any other one, until all is accounted for. A consensus is reached. That it can all be shelved in all its quantized splendor, this then is the turf. These sightings, this scene before me made up of just so many just views, nature's constituency, sits with indifference to the centripetal vanishing point that mentality posits so falsely. Brain, minding business, incessantly constructs an infinite series of makeshifts designed to perpetuate the picture, the one like all others that holds its breath for 1,000 words, conversely exhales .001 pictures. This insidious wraparound tied to the notion I have eyes in the back of my head binds me to my double, implodes my being to a mere word as it winds the world around my mouth. A seamless scroll weaves its view back into place, back to back with itself, the boomerang effect, decapitates any and all hallucinations, leaving, lo and behold, the naked eye, stalking each and every utterance that breaks and enters the dormitories of perception. I must become a warrior of self-consciousness and move my body, to move my mind, to move the words, to move my mouth, to spin the spur of the moment. Imagining the brain closer than the eyes. Well, I'm gonna break the rules a little bit here. And actually play a file. This is a reimagining through a different voice to an early work called Primarily Speaking. That'll give me a moment to drench my vocal cords in a little water. So here it comes. Primarily Speaking.
Well, you know what they say. We've all heard it before. It never ceases to amaze me. This time, it's more than just a change in the weather. They've really outdone themselves. How they ever got it past us, I don't know. In many circles, it's considered the unspeakable. These types of goings-on surface every so often. Statistically, one of us is probably involved. There's always someone willing to run the risk. At this point, though, there are no telltale signs to speak of. I wonder if the better thing to do is refrain from speculation. Hang in there, but hold back. Not get caught up in the missing link syndrome. Of course there's an ulterior motive. When is there ever not? That it's been dropped in our laps, I'm sure, is no accident. We can't just stand around, though. Where to go from here is the question. Do you have any ideas? One thing's for certain. They don't know we'll go to any length to do what has to be done. For the time being, if we can hold our own, we're bound to come across something in that near future.
Blue, green, red, cyan, magenta, yellow, food, feed, fed. I have the time of day glow.
There's no way in the world I'm gonna get framed this time around. Chances are you're thinking along similar lines. Stick close to me and remember, I'll be calling the shots from now on. If at any time I drop back, you pick up where I left off. If we find ourselves losing touch, here's a little piece of advice. There can never be an eye for an eye. There will always be a middleman who will whisper in your ear at every turn. Something to the effect of, we can go by the book or you can eat my words. No reason to go to such extremes. Think little or nothing of it. Then again, just to be on the safe side, better file it away for future reference. So, let's get on with the business at hand. We can cover a lot of ground in the time we've allotted ourselves. We have our choice. Living in suspended animation or under the auspices of supply and demand.
When you buy and I sell, we both trade so very well.
I've swallowed a good many hook, line, and sinker in light of the fact I've been a fish out of water for a long time. It's pretty safe to assume you're in the same position. Sure. I know that you know that I know that you know. So on and so forth. You've got it all staked out. I know you were playing for keeps from the beginning. Why do I sense a note of skepticism? Listen, we can part company anytime. In case you've forgotten, this is all at your convenience. Still, it's necessary, if not by design, that we cross paths in some way, shape, or form.
Blue, green, red, cyan, magenta, yellow, food, feed, fed. I have the time of day glow.
Off the record, this is somewhat out of character for me, as I imagine being closed-mouthed is for you. If it all seems a bit too high and dry, take comfort in the fact that coming up face to face would eliminate our time for reflection. Look, on the surface, what do we have to lose? Aesthetic persuasion? Leisure time? What is it? Why has it come to this? I've never turned on you before, or vice versa. Have our shortcomings finally met? One of us must accept the other. If not, the two of us accept each other. The remaining possibility is out of the question.
Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear.
In light of the situation, maybe it's wrong to carry on like this. We've been on delicate ground before. Should one of us back off? Wait. Let's try to be objective. There's no sense in running ourselves into a ditch. In the midst of it all, let's try to be objective for a moment. Point blank. Who are you? I mean it.
Just this one time.
We don't have to split hairs or anything.
Within reason.
Who are you? Come on. Shift gears for a minute. Take a deep breath. You know the ropes. You're one of those in their right mind. Take a deep breath and face the music. Start now and work backwards. Start in the middle and dream. Think it over. Rattle off a list if that's all that's left. Never mind the images. They always return. If not, new ones will replace the old ones. It's their destiny. Even those permanently lodged, sooner or later, lose their grasp. It's the nature of the beast.
Blue, green, red, cyan, magenta, yellow, food, feed, fed. I have the time of day glow.
Where did you leave off? Did you take the plunge? What was the cutoff point? Maybe you need more lead time. There's a long way to go before hitting rock bottom. Come on, put your best foot forward. Move on it. Cover some ground. Get the feel of it. Re-enter. You're not a backseat driver, are you? I know what you're thinking. It's not in the scheme of things that you take me for a ride. After all, I'm your monkey business. I can never really touch you. I can only leave word. Still, there's not much separating us. We're like-minded. I ask the same questions. You give the same answers. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Or can you? I don't know. You tell me. What's what? Maybe you prefer sightseeing, and I'm better off leaving well enough alone.
Time on our hands is blood on our hands. Time on our hands is blood on our hands.
I think we're off the track. I know we're off the track. I never for one moment thought I could railroad this through. I knew it was coming. This is the diminishing return I failed to negotiate. Sad but true. Less is more. More or less.
More of the time.
More and more of the time. Oh well, such as it is.
Blue, green, red, cyan, magenta, yellow, food, feed, fed. I have the time of day glow.
In the meantime, let's not lose sight of the facts. They do not need reiterating. There's a time and place for everything. I hope we haven't come here under false pretenses. There are things that should be said and things that should be done. You've been around, and I've been around. Double talking will get us nowhere,
And second guessing is a lost art.
Quite simply, we are an act of faith. There's no reason we can't walk out of this together. Face facts. The controlling factors of our little mise en scène are untouchable. Take my word for it. Put me above suspicion for a moment. Accept it. You are on the receiving end. The distances we imagine are next to close by, at arm's length, easily penetrable. We are at each other's disposal. We can concentrate on our discrepancies, or we can split the difference. That which takes the edge off. In any event, it is on our consciences.
Don't, block, the, box, void, greed, block, don't, block, the, box, void, greed, block.
The fixation moves from left to right. As time goes on, it becomes clockwork. You will have your way, and I will make do. In the end, we can double back or play the field. I don't want to deny you your own flesh and blood. Who am I but a figure of speech, freestanding, in advance of a broken arm? These things can happen when one gets ahead of themselves. I'm just going to sit tight. Take refuge in the picturesque. Things travel fast by word of mouth. I can be long-winded at times, as well as drag my feet. The logical conclusion? I'm always putting my foot in my mouth. Of course you understand. This is all in a manner of speaking. I don't want to underscore my place here. That would be misleading. After all, it's not an open-door policy. By the same token, it's very touch and go here. Anything can happen at any time, and no one is privy to that bit of information. I don't want to make a production out of it, though. All I want is to walk through it with you. We don't have to go to the four corners of the earth to discover we speak the same language. Savvy? The place is here. The time is now. 0 hour. And so on.
Blue, green, red, cyan, magenta, yellow, food, feed, fed. I have the time of day blue.
I want to come to terms with where we began and let the rest fall into place. Granted, there are many simultaneities. That goes without saying. But for practical purposes, we should respect our limits. So, take a good long hard look at yourself. Never mind me. I'll just go in one ear and out the other. Complications can arise in the simplest of forms and should be played out. Watch it. Perhaps the most we can do is try and remain true to form. However short-lived these moments may be, we can never return to the killer instinct. Listen. The floor has been mine now for longer than I care to remember. Do you want to talk? Do you want to talk it over? Do you want to talk about it? Feed it intravenously and have it be over with as soon as possible. I know the position you're in. If you can pull it off, more power to you. It's never clear-cut. You'd be wasting your time with the clean break idea. I'll bend over backwards to meet you halfway. In view of where you stand, where does that put me? Where does that leave us? In the mercenary position? Perpendicular, but right side up? No. We can't go by rote memory. There's nothing tying you down, and there's nothing letting you go. Make up your mind. Get a grip on things. Your modus operandi. Square off and break ground.
Put your head on the table, tangent to your ear. Talk to yourself and smile. Know that you are still here.
On the level. Perhaps I'm not coming across. I know it's difficult in these close quarters. I've tried to make it as easy as possible. I assure you, one can adapt to this neck of the woods. I'm not out of bounds. You know it, and I know it. I'm not going to walk off with it, and you're not going to let it get away. When I'm through, you are going to know what I am talking about,
word for word.
Let's face it, we are too few and far between to let generalities get the best of us. Up to this point, when all is said and done, so far, so good. When it gets down to the wire, perhaps it will be a different story. Again, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're bound to end up in the red that way. You might think the grass is greener on the other side, but it's once in a blue moon a situation the likes of this can occur. In all seriousness, you're dead center in the sightlines of a tour de force. Etc., etc., etc.
Blue, green, red, cyan, magenta, yellow, food, feed, fed. I have the time of day, love.
To be transfixed is no longer an option. I am in a way blind. I live time through a succession of pictures I've known since when. But it's precisely this when that haunts. It eats out the looking cavities and smiles inward like a Cheshire cat. What I might name as the immediate surroundings has all but vanished. I have no place, no feet. I've lost the vague idea of limbs. Legs feel more like logs arranged for a fire. I remember a dream of holding the other's heart in my hand. For a moment, I lived the pulse of another being. Then it was over, and I gave it away to a hungry animal. Lush sensations have ceased. I have no mouth, no scream, no voice within. I only listen to an imaginary sound I might make. I am supersonic and alien. I have the feeling of being a fuselage. Am I walking? Sitting in a chair? Killing? Eating? Could it be any of these things? Any and all simultaneously? Where am I? I can't remember at will. It can only be described as something holy for fear of something completely other. Parts come back not quite like what was before, but the connection is certain. A few switches flipped, that's it. The wherewithal generator is next to close by. It's happening right before my hands. I'm synthesized. Thought that won't let go brings to mind the terrifying possibility. It's only words that separate things. I feel abandoned by the real, leaving what's left. I'm going, watching myself go. Everything's changing speed, backing into itself. The effect mesmerizes. Movement eludes me. I'm paralyzed. Waiting awaits. What's left? It's doing exactly what it says. No question. No questions. Circumstance is at a standstill. Things have exited. If I go, everything else will follow. I know it. It knows it. There is nothing to leave, nothing. Difference exists only through sound. A wall of sound. Can I go through it? Can I go through it? Can I go through with it? Where is it now? Where does it reside? What does it feed on? Why does it flicker? Nothing approximates its speed. It's something from the outside, way outside. I didn't think this. This is not me. I'm not accountable. It wasn't thought out. It has no relation to thought. This is that hole that everything must pass through. I'm going now before it comes. Will I know when it comes? Will it approach with signals? Will there be a moment of recognition? Is that when I am it? Am I simply tapping myself on the shoulder? What is the point? It's always there, on again, on again. It waits without pathos. Waiting is human. This point wants to show me something inhuman. It wants to bring me to my knees. It wants me to pray. It wants me to see through seeing. It wants me to act like knowledge. It wants acknowledgement. It wants me completely at the edge. It burrows itself in, blows up and begins again, plural, points, cells. What's this? Do you know what this is? Not getting it. I don't get it. Am I supposed to get it? Help me out. What's it for? Who? Is it for me? Does it make a difference? A difference that makes a difference? Does it relate to something? Are you related to anything? What do I get? Do I get something from this? Show me. Show me what it's about. I'm missing the point. Give me something I can sink my teeth into. I need to chew or I get nervous. I see no connections, no currency, no value whatsoever at all. You need to suffer. You need to wake up next to death, gasping for air that's not there. All I see is surface noise. I know you got a little nag that gnaws and grows. Rhyme and reasons don't help a fucking thing. Push comes to shove, you're selfish little prick. Anybody in this game knows he's no different. It's all consummation in the fires of illusion. You're going to have to learn the hard way. You want to play with images? Here. What do you see? You see nothing. You're blind white. Fucker of all fucks bar none. Well, what do you think about it so far? You've been waiting for it without knowing it. Like you always say, this is it. Damn right this is it. Get it? Take your head out of your ass and look around. Go on, check it out. Do what you have to do to convince yourself that this is it. No one's going to tell you otherwise. It's all up to you. Here and now. You can eat, drink, smoke. Watch that hollow box. Draw, read, or write. Go for a ride, fuck your brains out, or just plain think. But you're here with it, displaying all your variability and all your possibilities and messages you've collected along the way. On or off the beaten track, it all leads back to here before branching out when once again you can point, choose, have, love, suffocate, hate, like, be counted, talk, scream, kick, shit, vomit, eat, drink, and be merry. Don't forget about death, art, politics, flesh and blood, machines, and don't forget money. Sure, you know what I'm talking about. You've heard it before. You've read it before. But never while you were here with it. And I stole it. It was here for the taking, wasn't it? Everybody gets it sooner or later. This is it. You've had your little talk in every other room. Now it's my turn. Now it's your turn. And now mine. Time to turn the record over. Statistics? You got statistics? You want statistics? Stats? Data? Something to rifle through? Something you can get your head around? Something to make some sense out of it all? Numbers, disfigurements, tortures, rapes, mutilations, decapitations, collateral damage, disappearances, human slaves, human shields, numbered bodies, numbed minds, bloodied cherished documents, laws, memos, acts gone awry, crimes against humanity, nasty roadside attractions, emancipated bloated beings, terminations, secret cells, bunker busters, warheads, warlords, genocide machines, treasury notes afloat, poppy fields, tonnage, the distinct extinction possibility. What do you want? Victims, witnesses, perpetrators, names, places, times, names, places, times. Are we there yet? Peak oil it all? That's history. We're at peak time. This is the time. Time is rolling over for the come what mays. It's May Day. May Day. Close the hatch. We're going down. The walls are melting up and the sky doesn't give a rat's ass. Take a side. Stand the man down. You're either with us or a tourist. Sound familiar? Do you like familiarity? Do you like your home? Do you like your children? Do you like your bed? Tell me something. Do you like your mind? Does it feel like a right? Does it feel like a right mind? Maybe it's reeling, really getting ready to rock. Maybe you're going to play dead when the donuts finally roll. No turning back now. Better lay it down low. Get down, way, way down. You want him dead, don't you? All of them, vaporized. You want him gone. Take your best shot. Watch it, live it, be it. One golden esoteric round enters the smirking mouth, finds its way through the veritable rot of tissue, shuddering the skull every which way, switching sides, exiting one eye, entering the other, ricocheting through the labyrinth of the left ear, finding its spent self on a grassy knoll. Mission accompli. No, too quick, too easy. You want maybe it to last, to wallow in the mire a bit. Maybe you want to fuck him in the ass with a baseball bat. Maybe you want to grind its testicular parts to paste and rub its face through the so-called manhood. I get it. Torture as a tool for the greater good. He's on the world's back and you want him off. Him and his minions, the wannabes and the has-beens, all the players and their reserves, the PTBs and the PPT. A pipe dream, a pipe bomb away, bombs away, all the way, all around, out of bounds of imagination. Got a dream, dream on. Give us a drum roll. Get barreling, back up the truck for God's sake. No God, no gods of this time. Eliminate them all. Turn the page over and take your turn. Now it's my turn. Now it's your turn. It's time to turn the record over. Well, what are we doing with time? We still have some time, even though it's delayed by more time. So, I have something else. I'm going to cut corners to create more sides. as we look at a lexicon of the world's objects. I wasn't exactly sure what had transpired. Quietly, I was either on the edge of unraveling or establishing a frame from which to begin the insurmountable task of going through, parsing and classifying, owning up to the inconsequential gathering of effects. The residue of intimacy will no doubt reveal certain fissures, exposing unbearable thoughts that at times are regrettably articulated rather than one biting one's lip. Similarly, the unforgiving light severs images, becoming at once unimaginable and blind to the world that spawned them. Now detached, I watched myself rummage through forgotten letters, notes, boxed accoutrements, and that unaccounted for miscellanea. Relationships with those said things tend to invert in rather insidious ways during troughs of slow time. I ruminate on certain ones, the ones that appear and disappear for no apparent reason except that at one time or another I assumed them. It's come to the point when carrying out the simple task of doing one thing after another only happens with great difficulty. Thoughts can't hold words long enough, allowing them to cure, thereby giving me ingress to my own instruction set that I might follow. Not that there aren't words in any sense of the word, it's just their way of pressing up against me, of not wanting to tango, as it were. They are decidedly uncooperative, making the liquidity of thought next to non-existent. The playful specters slip free of my desires and proceed to taunt me. An inability to differentiate one from another has me closing my eyes, humming to myself, hoping to resonate with my own bones. For an instant, I envision each word wearing a Venetian mask. Together they mischievously switch their cloaks just beneath the lid of thought. The moment I begin to verbalize, pictures of the very words I labor to fit my mouth around morph into Boolean lookalikes, and my utterance turns to garbled nonsense. I have the distinct sense of being backwards. Thoughts are eating themselves before any kind of linguistic traction takes place. Periodically, I'm awakened by disturbances from the outside, a Doppler shift of a distant siren, a perturbed neighbor, a whimpering dog. Whatever the night offers by way of familiarity gives much-needed refuge, however brief. Am I capable of living language without dread? Bursts of physicality momentarily divert me from crippling loops of recursive meanderings, giving me a modicum of hope. But they never fail. The naked words, the micro-nightmares, scurry back to their respective husks before resuming their mind game. The house always wins. Verbal cocoons hang in the balance. Memories are suspect. Was she really there? Could my arm really have been in that position? Did it happen that way, with a spool of wire rolling across the floor? What difference does it make? There is an attraction to each mind's singular way of constructing the order of such things. Globe-like balls assembled from accumulated rubber bands abruptly appear as a vast network of crisscrossing runways. What I knew to be inanimate was imbued with a polyrhythmic flickering akin to time-lapse recordings. Having trouble determining distance, I cautiously advanced toward what appeared to be an engineering feat of unimaginable proportions. A glorious evening sky added to the celebration of the human ingenuity that lay before me. Giddy abandonment was palpable, as the ultramarine splendor found its cradle in the depth of waiting blackness. The velvety canopy transformed visibility into an infinite space of vertiginous possibilities. As night sparkled, my focal point began shifting from one extreme to the other, scrutinizing the view more thoroughly. Given the aura of calmness, why was there not a single plane taking flight, landing, or taxiing? Instead, a menagerie of aerodynamic beauties passively stood looking like arrowheads, randomly pointing in all directions. Service vehicles and miscellaneous support machinery were all idle and silent. What made the situation all the more peculiar was the absolute stillness of the air. Suspiciously odorless, innocent, intoxicatingly so. I found myself taking deep breaths, each one deeper than the last, as if supplementary oxygen had been pumped into my whereabouts. By now I had succumbed to the clarity of the night. The abundance of stars appeared like scattered sand or bits of crystal attuned to that one unseen oscillator that sings at a fever pitch. Everything was perfectly placed as if by a giant hand. Perhaps it was a top secret operation that, for whatever reason, had to be abandoned. This explanation fails too. Broken glass, debris of any kind, even the smallest hint of litter, all were absent. On the contrary, the place looked immaculate, inexplicably calculated. Was it camouflage? A simulacrum of something perhaps sinister or even more fantastical? A stealth site of some kind? A place made invisible by proprietary algorithms that I had inadvertently broken the code of? The thought was frightening and exhilarating at the same time. Adrenaline was coursing my veins. The atmosphere had changed dramatically. I could feel a kind of acceleration taking place. I watched my own eyesight rapidly destabilize all over again. Every aspect of my vision was being tested. What moments ago was all but an inconsequential wandering had placed me in the midst of a bizarre construction with elaborate riggings, control mechanisms, and massive decoys. I was beginning to perspire and feel ill. I could no longer triangulate the two images that were now flying directly into my pupils. Waves of light moved over the scene like fast-moving clouds. Things were transforming back and forth between opaque physical entities and layers of diaphanous light. My depth of field wasn't helping matters. Occluding my one object from another was futile. Perception was being absorbed. My vision was that of a tired body being swallowed by quicksand. Had I simply lost consciousness and awakened with a bird's eye view of a cinematic event? Perhaps I was only peering into an optical contraption, a prototype of some kind, swimming through its seductive illusionary space, having forgotten it was pressed up against my own face. Or had I embarked on a somnambulistic journey that night? I live on the outskirts of a desert border town, a place of quietude conducive to a sleepwalk of any length that would have me nowhere in no time at all. Somehow I needed to make physical contact to confirm or deny the circumstance before me. There was the nagging thought that it was my very own existence that would be determined once I decidedly made the whatever that might entail. Admittedly, I lacked the necessary resolve to push the knot out of what was beginning to feel like a wooden void. Everything seemed to be aligning itself within, if with nothing else. Was it simply a question of synchronicity? Okay. that's all I have here and now. But I do have some kind of credits. So I'm going to thank Hannah in Freiburg for her technical prowess in managing this whole thing. Trying to get the stream to work as best we can. Let me just get a little image up here somehow. I guess that'll work. An image of me. And also Georg and TONSPUR in Vienna for asking me to do this, and their support for making this whole thing possible, and their artisan residence program, the Q21 Vienna. This was a lot harder to do than I thought. I would certainly do it differently the next time. It's strange to think about streaming and the delay of time and then the kind of delay overlapping what one imagines, or when one imagines someone else somewhere is experiencing the same thing, though it's not the same thing. So the same thing and the difference connects and are broken, and so on and so forth. Let's see now. There's also some questions from Georg. The first one is, let me just check the stream here and see if I'm supposed to be doing this. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, yeah. So about pioneering in video art, I'm really neither. I really have come to think of myself, well, this is almost obvious now, but as a language artist, a language being, probably a little more with a conceptual bent than what people think of with video art. I'm actually quite alien to the thoughts of what video art is. So as technology test. One, are we on? Oh. Okay. I'm not sure what's going on right now, but oh, okay. I forget where I left off. Let's see here. Oh. Oh, okay. I guess it's working again. I don't know what I last said, but you know, this will be like the cogging of questions and answers. Are there maybe other questions, or did I answer the last ones from Georg? Yes, you can hear and see me. Well, anyway, does anyone have any questions? What is your personal wish for the time? Oh, my personal wish. Well, to have things more normal so I can travel and be with my family and meet people again in different parts of the world. That has been probably the biggest difference with the pandemic for me. As far as my studio time, it hasn't really changed much. So anyway, it'll be nice when everyone doesn't have to worry about such things. But I don't think that's going to happen for a while, for some reason, or for obvious reasons. Yeah. Any other questions? Personal wish. Yeah. Well. So. Well, I hope whoever was there, was here, was everywhere, or nowhere, got something from this. And thank you for showing up. If there are any other questions, I'd be happy to field them as best as possible. Just fire away on the chat. Okay, well, I guess we're going to say goodbye then. So, see you next time. I look forward to doing this again, actually, when I know what I'm doing. Bye-bye.